Alright guys, we're at Lake Logan and we're in a grass strip between two very thick multiple rose hedgerow areas on the back side, the shallow side of Lake Logan, and we're looking at a red-winged blackbird. Red-winged blackbirds, this is the male. The males come back sometime in early February before the females do to set up territories. If you look at it, you can see it's all pitch black with a little bit of red on the wing where it's getting its name red-winged blackbird. Just kind of went out of focus here, but hopefully you saw a little bit of it. The red-winged blackbird is technically a grassland cattail wetland species that they nest just above, maybe 2 or 3 feet above the ground in either a grassland area or in cattails that nest about a foot or 2 feet off the water. This has a lot of cattail marshes on the backside here, so sometimes you see red-winged blackbirds. The females should return any moment now. I haven't seen one yet as we speak here at Lake Logan, but the females should be back anytime soon. They are a very heavily striped species, kind of a brownish striped with a sort of a tan eye stripe above their eye. It's typical of red-winged blackbirds. So that's a red-winged blackbird, and see if we can find any other species coming in. All right, here's a close-up shot of the red-winged blackbird singing. The song is kind of described conklery, conklery. They have a really, whoops, there it goes. They have a habit when they sing, they will raise their epaulets so you can see the red more clearly. At least the competing males can see it, and therefore that's how they defend their territory, by showing off their red epaulets or shoulder patches. But that's the red-winged blackbird, the male, and its song. Now we just had a northern mockingbird fly in. Northern mockingbird is kind of a grayish coloration with some white wing patches, pretty obvious when you see them. The mockingbird likes this kind of hedgerow, thick hedgerow habitat that we're standing in right now. This is kind of an edge ecotone habitat. The mockingbirds, the male and females, are pretty much alike. They're similar, so it's kind of hard to tell them apart necessarily from a field standpoint. The mockingbird song, where it gets its name as a mocker, it imitates the songs of other birds. Sometimes the entire song, sometimes just parts of the song. It's a mimic, along with the brown thrasher and the catbird, which we will hopefully talk about later on this spring. The mockingbird will stay here year-round. It's a winterized bird, so it's more or less a resident, especially in southern Ohio. It'll feed heavily on multiple rose hips and berries during the winter. The sound of the mockingbird is it imitates other bird songs every 3 to 5 times. In other words, let's say it's doing a tuft of titmouse, it will go Peter, Peter, Peter at least 3 times and repeat and go to another song. Mockingbirds are sometimes very difficult to pinpoint because they're like ventriloquists. They are here, and they sound like they're at several locations at one time. The northern mockingbird. Alright guys, we're fortunate to see both a brown thrasher and a mockingbird in this little outing. The brown thrasher is not being quite as cooperative. Again, all brown, very long tail, kind of a rusty brown coloration. We'll see if he comes back out here in a minute. We'll get a better picture of him. The brown thrasher is also a mimic. It prefers the hedgerows just like mockingbirds do, typically in brushland areas or very dense hedgerows. Both the male and female are very similar, so it's kind of hard to tell them apart. They're kind of a rusty brown, heavily striped on the breast, long bill, slightly down curved. They're a mimic, but they only repeat their songs or the songs of other birds twice, as opposed to 3 or 5 times. but they reside in the same habitat, and there's a good chance you'll see brown thrashers and mockingbirds in the same area. And typically catbirds, when they come back, will also be in this kind of hedgerow habitat. We have a pair of robins here, a very common species of bird in Ohio. You can identify the males with a very dark coal black head, and of course the rusty red breast, gray back. In the springtime, the males have a bright yellowish color on their bill. The females a little bit duller. I believe these are, looks like most of these two are males. Okay, for the most part. Oops, now they're out of the picture. So those are the American robin. Alright, we have perched on a wire here, a tree swallow. Again, we're at Lake Logan, and just right adjacent to the marshy area, shallow water area in the back of Lake Logan. A tree swallow has a clear white breast. It's one of the what we call clear white breasted swallows, as opposed to the rough winged or the bank swallow, which have dirty or brown marks on the breast. It's got kind of a bluish green back. It's a cavity nesting swallow, so normally you're going to find it around the edges of forest tracts for the dead snags. They do take very well to nesting boxes, particularly bluebird boxes. They do like to hunt around water or above water, which is why you see them pretty often here at Lake Logan. The male is a little bit deeper greenish blue than the female is. The female is a little bit duller in color. And the tree swallow is an insectivore, aerial insectivore, so it feeds over water, over grassy areas is typically where you're going to find it, although it does need cavities nearby. So this is the tree swallow. Alright, we have perched here, again at Lake Logan, a mourning dove, doing some preening, another common bird throughout the state of Ohio. A resident species that you'll find during the winter here as well. You can identify it by its grayish back with black markings on the wings, very long tail, pointed tail, sort of a small pinhead type of head on it, and of course a light colored breast. The males and females can be told apart by some markings on the neck, but very difficult to tell in the field. So this is, I can't really tell which sex it is, but this is the mourning dove. The mourning dove is an adaptable species. It occurs in a variety of different habitats, but primarily an open land bird. You find around grasslands, crop field areas, any place where they can forage on the ground is typically where you find the mourning dove. Okay, we're looking at a song sparrow. Notice the heavy striping on the breast that forms a black spot in the middle of the breast there. Heavy striping on the head as well. It's foraging on the ground, as you can see, and up in the ground. This is this Lake Logan that we're at, back in along the marshy area. Overall brown coloration. Song sparrows are year-round birds, resident species. They're what we call edge ecotone species. They occur a lot along brushy fence rows and thick hedgerows, but they also are very common in urban and suburban areas. It's one of our most common sparrows throughout the state of Ohio. And this is a song sparrow. The song sparrow has a beautiful song, and hopefully if you refer to the PowerPoint, I have an example of the song there. Of course, you can get on Merlin app and listen to the song. So this is the song sparrow. This is unlike some of the other. There are two groups of sparrows. You have the clean-breasted sparrows and the dirty-breasted sparrows, and the song sparrow is one of the dirty-breasted sparrows. The field sparrow, the chipping sparrow are two examples of very common sparrows that have no markings on the breast, and perhaps we'll see them, or at least talk about them in the future. This is the song sparrow. Okay, we're along the beach here at Lake Logan once again, and I have in my sights a killdeer. One of the most common shorebirds we have. He's preening right now, but you can see the double black bars across the breast, which is one way you can tell it. You can see the rusty patch on his rump there that's kind of turning around, and you can see it. It's preening. It has the white and black markings on the head. It's a plover species, so it's got a shorter bill than a lot of the shorebirds do. It's a nesting species, and oftentimes it'll be here even during the winter. It nests in places just like this. We have either gravel or pebbles or sandy beach type of environment. Oftentimes we'll nest in driveways, parking lots that are gravel, places like that. Their eggs are they look like little pebbles among the gravel. And of course, if you approach the nest, the adults will do a broken wing act. It'll drag its wing, trying to distract you away from the nest. Pretty common sight you see later on in the spring when they have nests. Their nests they blend in very well. All they are just kind of a depression in the gravel, or they don't really make a nest. They just create a depression and lay their eggs. Anyway, that's the killdeer. I'm kind of waiting around to see if it turns around and gives you a frontal view of it. It may not, looks like. So you can see the double black markings on it. So just wait a few seconds here and see what it does. There you go. Nice frontal shot. Good timing. You can see the two black bars going across. All right. There's some more video of the pair of killdeers. And you can see the two black bars going across, which is the primary field characteristic of killdeers. All right, here we have for Lake Logan, and we have a pair of Canada geese. You guys should be familiar with them, very common throughout Ohio. You can identify it by, of course, the white cheek patch and the black long neck, the brown back on his body, kind of mottled in coloration, with the light colored white front and belly. This is the Branta canadensis maxima. This is a giant Canada goose. At one time, they thought this particular subspecies of Canada goose was extinct, but the forethought of a few conservationists held a few in captivity and started a breeding production at various sites throughout North America with captive giant Canada geese, and today we have a fairly resident population here in the state of Ohio. The migratory Canada goose is called the Branta canadensis interior, and that's the goose you see migrating through Ohio in spring, this time of the year, as well as in the fall. Those birds nest up Hudson Bay, the James Bay area. Their populations have been declining because of the encroachment of the snow goose on their breeding habitat. So this particular subspecies, the maxima, has a very strong population now. And the migratory Canada goose, the interior populations have declined. But this is a bird that you should be extremely familiar with, and honestly has made a kind of miraculous comeback from what it was in the 1900s. So here's the Canada goose. This is the backwater marshy area of Lake Logan, and what we're going to do is try to go from spot to spot, pick up some birds here and there that you would see if you were here. Okay, we're looking at some horned grebes here at Lake Logan. If I can keep them above water long enough, we'll just kind of track them. And there's 3 of them. 2 of them are on their winter plumage. And the winter plumage means it just has sort of a white patch with a kind of darkish cap to it. And that's where it gets the name horn, because they look like horns on both sides when they become fully mature. There's one that's partially coming out. Has some really nice, you can see some of the color coming out of the, where normally you'd find the white. Let me see if I can track them down here again. They keep disappearing on me. Oops, must be underwater again. All right, now we're looking on the backwaters of Lake Logan again, about in the marshy area, and we're looking at a great blue heron. Great blue herons are the most common heron that we have in Ohio. Again, these birds will typically even stay here year-round if the water is open, and they can hunt for fish and other aquatic species. You notice there's a very long-looking hair-like feathers that are draping down from the neck into the breast. Is very characteristic of the great blue heron. Obviously, the grayish-blue color is where it gets its color, gets its name. Very stout bill. Meant for stalking and stabbing. They get wade very slowly in the water, always looking for a fish, and then when they find one, they strike and spear the fish. Very, very effective at doing this. They can stand so still in the water that they wait for the fish to come by. You can see the black markings on the head with a little tuft that comes out, kind of a hair-like tuft that comes out, and a yellowish bill. See if I can get a little bit better focus, maybe, just maybe, no, let's see here, but there we go, and you can see the length of the body, and of course the length of the legs. Great blue heron is a rookery nester, meaning that it's gregarious. It'll nest with other herons in a rookery that may be 40, 50, 60 different nests in areas along rivers or lakes or streams. Normally they're called rookeries. Sometimes you'll see great egrets mixed in. Occasionally you'll see other heron species mixed in with the rookeries. I've come across rookeries the size of at least 120 birds at 2 different swamp white oak with 50 or 60 nests in them. It's unbelievable at Lake St. Mary's. Anyway, there's a great blue heron. He seems to be doing a little hunting there, so he's walking and looking for potential prey. There's a side picture of him there. You see the hair-like feathers coming down the side. This kind of yellowish bill. Hard to mistake the great blue heron. I just want to share you some video. There's the stalking method there. Okay, as he moves, always looking downward for potential prey. There's a little more, a little shot of him there. Let's see if he comes into the picture here as he's stalking. There we go. Okay, so there we got it. The great blue heron, one of the most common wading species that we have in Ohio. All right, bald eagles have been known to nest around the Lake Logan area, and what we're looking at here is an immature bird. Bald eagles typically don't sexually mature until the 2nd or 3rd year before they actually get white heads, especially females a little bit later than the males. So the immatures are essentially just all brownish, blackish brown coloration all over. They lack the white tail, and you see there's no white tail there. Their bill, and this bill is slightly getting a yellow coloration to it, but for the most part it's much darker than the adults. The adults have a yellowish bill, the white head and white tail. The immature does not. And that's what we're looking at right here. So there's an immature bald eagle.